Cool. We good? All right, guys. Hey, cheers and welcome to the water cooler. I know we're cracking live on the air here, Chris. It's great to be back. The water cooler is a show about marketing, sales, and technology. Each episode, we focus on bringing you advice that works. You can tune in live on our Facebook page at facebook.com/curator.com, spelt out. You can join the conversation with hundreds of real estate agents. You can watch the replay and all of our old episodes on YouTube and on iTunes. My name is Jimmy Mack, and I'm joined by my main man, best-selling author of The Conversion Code, Chris Smith. And we got a jam-packed session for you today, Chris. We're going to be covering topics on retargeting that works. We'll talk about how to win more listings and appease needy sellers. We're going to dive into the art of newsjacking. We're going to get into this concept of leveraging the contrarian mindset. And finally, we're going to share with you guys our favorite Facebook feature of the week. But before we get into any of that, Chris, you know, it's been a lot has changed since we've been off the air. One of the things that's changed is we've seen this rise in addiction to work, where in our industry in particular, Chris, it's widely accepted that working 24/7, 7 days a week is sort of the norm, right? We're starting to see some pushback from this, and I want you to start the show off giving me a sense of, you know, your feelings towards this, and talk about this now famous email sent by Elon Musk that I think encapsulates this entire idea.
Yeah, well, it's definitely great to be back. You know, it's been 2 years, and we've been watching, we've been observing, we've been seeing what's happening in the industry, and we're pumped to be back. So for all the fans and all of our friends that supported our relaunch, thank you guys so much. It is an exciting time, but it makes me think of a saying, Jimmy: for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I have no idea who said that, but it was a great quote. And it's kind of like what you mentioned, hustle culture. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we were doing the show, everybody was all in on hustle, grind, work your face off, outwork. And what's happened is there's been some pushback to that, because if something goes too far to one side, people tend to try to bring it back. So if we can pull up the slide, there was an email that Elon Musk sent, and he sent it at 1:20 in the morning. And he sent it to all of his employees at Tesla. And he basically laid off 7% of them. And in this email, he said, if you want work-life balance, you're at the wrong company. We're trying to change the world. We're trying to put a dent in the universe. And let me read you the exact quote that he had. Succeeding in our mission is essential to ensure that the future is good. So we must do everything we can to advance the cause. I mean, does that not sound like some entitled bullshit? I mean, quite frankly, like, I get it that they're working on big goals, but Silicon Valley is really, I think, where a lot of this started. There was actually another article in the New York Times. You know, Gary Vee has been the poster boy for hustle, but there's been a lot of pushback against that as well. Like, this is crazy, Jimmy. Let me read you this one. The CEO of Yahoo, Marissa Mayer, in 2016, she explained how working 130 hours a week was possible. All you have to do is be strategic about when you sleep, when you shower, and how often you go to the bathroom. Like, I want to grow Curator, and I love my job, but I'm not wearing Depends as a strategy.
That is not a strategy.
So, like, things have changed, and work-life balance has become a more important topic. I can tell you that all the millennials that we employ, it matters to them. I can tell you that most normal people care about relationships and work. They care about their kids and their craft. And it's funny, like, one of our favorite people that a lot of people don't follow, DHH. He's the CEO, one of the co-founders of Basecamp, and he said, the problem with the hustle culture is the vast majority of the people beating the drums are not the ones doing the work. They're the managers, they're the owners. So there's been a lot of pushback. And, you know, I think about the ultimate, like, workaholic with Steve Jobs. You know, Steve Jobs, you know, is notorious for working his butt off and making sure everybody else does too. And he got interviewed by Walter Isaacson in the famous book. It's like 1,000-page book. And basically Walter asked him, he said, are you glad that you have kids? And he said, having kids is 10,000 times better than anything I've ever done. That's Steve Jobs. That's the person we all look up to. So For me, Jimmy, it's pretty clear. Like, what do you want on your tombstone? That's the way I think about it. Would anybody in their right mind want their tombstone to say, I worked 18 hours a day? Would anybody on their tombstone want it to say, grinded his face off? Would anybody want to be hustle mania on their tombstone? Like, I know for me, like, I would rather my tombstone say that I was a great father, a great husband, a great friend, a great colleague, a great philanthropist, and a great businessman. So I just think that there has to be a voice of reason. And in fact, I mean, we want to know from our audience right now, this is one of the new features, one of the new interactive features of the water cooler. We have a poll up right now on our Curator Instagram. Okay. I want everybody to go to Curator on Instagram right now, click on our stories, and we want to know from you, the water cooler viewers, do you identify as a workaholic? Or do you identify as work-life balance? And we're going to actually get that data in real time, and we are going to reveal the results at the end today, Jimmy. Yeah, so let me ask a follow-up question to that, because I think oftentimes you find people falling into one of those two camps. The Jason Fried, DHH, let's have a calm company camp, or you have the Elon Musk, or Marissa Mayer, sacrifice everything for the greater good. So the thought, though, is if you're watching right now the water cooler, Chris, and you are in a position where your business isn't going well, things are, you're not hitting your goals, or maybe you're just starting the year off, you maybe change brokerages, and you know when that happens, obviously you kind of stop selling, stop marketing, and stop growing. Is there a time and place where workaholics, or working 24/7 makes sense? Or is it sort of this thing where, like, you're just developing a bad habit that's going to exist with you for your entire time running a business? Yeah, I think there's a medium. I think that's what people are after, is that balance. But yeah, like, if you're first starting out and you're broke and you don't have any money and you don't have anything in your bank account, like, that goes back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, if you don't have food and shelter, you have to do 100% of your time finding food and shelter. Yeah. But there's a point where, you get past that. And I would say for us, like, part of it's you get a little older, you get a little wiser, you get a little calmer, you have a couple kids, they get a little older, you grow, you mature, you change. That's what a lot of this episode's about. Things have changed since we've been gone, and we've changed too. Yeah. So I think ultimately, Jimmy, here's my problem with workaholics. They're usually very inefficient with how they work. So what I would be thinking more about is, how can I get more hours out of the hours I should work? How do I get more minutes out of the minutes I should work? I believe that most people listening right now are wasting half their hours each day anyway, chatting it up in the office, doing a bunch of stuff that doesn't really make them any money, kind of making excuses of what not to do. Yeah. For me, like, I definitely am at the point where I lean a little bit work-life balance. But yeah, like, if you have a big deadline or a big speech, or you've got a big conference, or you've got a big thing, like, work your ass off leading up to that. Yeah. But I don't think that it should be a lifestyle. I don't think that Monday to Monday should be a thing. Yeah. And Jason David referred to it as the 12-hour work week, which is you go right through the weekend and you're kicking off Monday. And I think your point there is well taken, Chris, this idea that working hard or working long hours does not equate to output. And the only thing you really should be thinking about is your output. What are you actually producing? What are you actually creating? Now, that's just one trend. The other trend that you're seeing right now, Chris, since we've been gone, and this one I think is pervasive in our industry right now, and that's fear. So we're having people who are working long hours, trying to figure things out, who are ultimately kind of sacrificing their health, their mindset, their businesses, because some guru is telling them to work 24/7. But the other thing that I think our industry and our audience is dealing with right now is all of this negative news and all of this negative press that's, I think, screwing up with their mindset in a big way. Talk to me about that if you could. Yeah, it's really just comes down to the big trend that I've seen in the last couple of years is FOMO. People are afraid of missing out. They're just afraid in general. Like, if you think about the changes that have happened, like, the market is changing. The president might get impeached. Yeah. We are in an economy that could collapse. Open Door and Zillow are buying people's houses without an agent. Like, that's happening. Yeah. And the market, and then think about Facebook, all the fear around the data breach and the scandal, right? Yeah. Like, oh, by the way, here's another big trend. Compass, people going to EXP, people changing brokerages, right? So think about that for a second. You've got all these things that you could be afraid of. Am I going to miss out by not switching companies? Should I stop doing Facebook? Is it not going to work? Is the economy and the market going to collapse? Who cares? because you don't have control over most of that. And here's the thing that I wanted people to remember. When you're not, when you're afraid, you're not focused. And when you're not focused, you're not productive. And when you're deciding what to do, you haven't decided.
Yeah.
So if you're going to switch. Quit thinking about it. When you're wondering, you're not working. I love the quote from Zig here. Fear has two meanings. Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. The choice is yours. So there's so much FOMO. There's so much running around in circles. If you actually spend your time and effort on things you can't control and your thoughts, you're pretty much going to lose for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great quotes, Jimmy, about fear. I pulled a couple quotes from Mark Twain. I have had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we just get caught up in our head. Here's another great one. Worry never robs someone of its sorrow. It only saps today of its joy. Here's another one. Worry often gives small things a big shadow. I love that one. And here's the one that wraps it up. If you want to test your memory, try to recall what you were worrying about a year ago. So it feels like in the moment that these things are kind of crashing on around us, but it's just quite simply, Jimmy, not true.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that fear is not an option. Fear is not a strategy. You could be concerned, you can keep an eye on what's happening, but you can't allow it to cause inaction.
Yeah, well, and you guys might be wondering, what is a show about marketing, technology, and sales talking about fear and talking about workaholics? I think these are just, I think, Chris, if you're going to hear anything on the water cooler, you have to have the right mindset above everything else. And I think there's a wonderful quote by, I think it's Ralph Waldo Emerson, where he says, nothing great in life was accomplished without enthusiasm. And I think that is the mindset we all want to have, is that you can either be afraid of things or you can approach these challenges with enthusiasm. I know, Chris, the type of people that we work with, one of our core values as part of our culture code is stay positive. And that's at the heart of what we try to do, because you have the option, it's in your control how you react to these things, and ultimately stop wasting your time thinking about things you can't control. Again, whether the president's going to get impeached, the economy is going to tank, or if Zuckerberg is going to get ousted from Facebook and they're going to replace him with some other drone. So
if you can be calm amidst the chaos, you're going to win. Yeah. If you can be focused amongst the fear, you're going to win. In fact, we're going to do a giveaway right now. This is a great book. Like, the guys that created Basecamp wrote this book. It's their third or fourth book. It's called It Doesn't Have to Be Crazy at Work. You don't have to work 80 hours. You don't have to do half the stuff you do. Like, you can run a calm company. We're going to give away 5 copies of this book during the water cooler today. If you would like to win a copy of this amazing book, all you have to do is right now hit share on this Facebook Live. Share the Facebook Live with your friends, share it in a Facebook group, share it with anybody that you think would be interested. And Annette is actually going to keep an eye on everyone that's sharing it. And we're giving away 5 copies of this book by the end of the episode. I'll read off the winners soon, Jimmy.
Yeah, love it. All right, cool. Let's get into today's topic. And we're going to start today with focusing on retargeting that works. Now, just for some context here, retargeting, I feel, is a pillar of every successful marketing campaign, Chris. Every serious brand out there is leveraging retargeting. And I find that it's still, even to this day, to a large degree, being massively underutilized. I want you to first give me a quick definition of what retargeting it is, and more specifically, sort of what the opportunities that exist today look like.
Yeah, I mean, retargeting, I call it like the Amazon strategy, because most people have seen, like, you go to Amazon, you look at a few items, you buy them or not, and as soon as you open up Facebook, the items in your newsfeed. As soon as you go to Insta, the items in your feed. As soon as you go read an article on ESPN, somehow that item is like a banner ad at the top. So that's retargeting. Retargeting is when somebody visits your stuff, or if somebody engages with your stuff, you can show them more stuff. Okay. But the problem is that, and this happens with everything, so no one should feel bad, but the problem is that when we get a new technique or a new tool or tactic, we tend to use it in a mass way. Yeah. So think about email, Jimmy. People for a long time, they only sent emails to either their whole list or one person. And we know that the best ways to send emails are to targeted small lists of people. Think about Facebook ads. You used to target your whole city. Yeah. Now it's like, oh, I want the moms in my city that like yoga and Zillow, right? So retargeting is going to go through the same evolution. It's what I call micro retargeting, and it's very simple. You don't need to retarget every single person that ever visits your site. You don't need to retarget every single person in your database because it's ineffective and it's expensive. Like, what you want to do is retarget the people that are truly looking to transact soon. So as an example, we have about 60,000 people on our email list.
Yeah.
A lot of them are fans of the show. A lot of them are just buddies or other thought leaders in the industry. And so if we just took our whole 60,000 people and we uploaded it to Facebook and we retargeted them, it would kind of be irrelevant to them, or we'd have to do something really high level. But in our CRM, and most people's CRMs, Jimmy, they have things like stages. They have things like sources. They have things like tags, right? So what micro retargeting is instead of retargeting that whole database, we're going to just retarget the hot people, the pending people, and the people that have already bought before, something like that. Or let's say we're just going to retarget our Stellar leads and our Zillow leads, right?
Yeah.
Instead of retargeting everybody. So you can basically, instead of targeting your whole list, target a segment of your list, like ad roll, Facebook. They make this very easy to do. But the other thing is your website traffic. So as an example, Jimmy, we get 100,000 page views a month.
Yeah.
We get people reading our blog like crazy. We get people watching the show. We get people checking out where our next events are going to be, right? We got a great website. But like, there's certain pages on the site that obviously show a much higher level of intent. So as an example, if somebody clicks on the like schedule a call button on your site, that's like a really high level of intent. Like, they might not have called you, but just clicking on that shows intent. Something like your reviews, like, people are not going to read real estate agent reviews unless they're semi-interested in hiring an agent.
Yeah, think about be further in the process for sure.
Exactly, but even something, Jimmy, like the people that visit your seller-centric pages versus the people that visit just your home search, right? Yeah. So whether it's your database or your website, instead of targeting everybody, instead of putting billboards all over the internet, you're going to target way less people with a way more relevant message.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue here, Chris, because what the audience is looking at right now is this very simple concept that we like to use at Curator, which is sort of deeply personalizing the retargeting messaging based off of the who and the what. So as an example, if I were to see a common real estate ad, Chris, what they would typically say, they'd say like 3 mistakes when buying a home. That would be considered I think actually a fairly common, like well-written campaign. But what Chris just mentioned was this idea that we're moving towards this sort of hyper-specific, hyper-targeted type of marketing that actually drives results. So what you're seeing here is that you have the ability when running any type of retargeting campaign to go deeper. First, define who it is you're retargeting. Be as specific as you possibly can be. By adding in the word millennials here, instantly, if I'm a millennial, I'm going to be more inclined to stop what I'm doing and read this article. And then the last thing here, Chris, is what we're doing is we're saying, then also talk about the event that's happening. So you're saying the who and the what. So 3 mistakes millennials make when buying their first home. Now, Chris, the criticism here, and I want you to talk about this, the criticism is this is too specific. What if someone who's not a millennial, who's not buying their first home, sees this ad and they don't respond to it? Like, shouldn't I make it more generic to appeal to more people? That's going to be the criticism, if you will.
Yeah, I would just say the wider you cast your net, the more stuff falls through it. You know, like when you go out fishing, you can use like a general bait, but I think a lot of the best fishermen, they use like a real specific bait that attracts a real specific type of fish, right? They're not trying to just use a worm to catch a shark. You know what I'm saying? They actually get more strategic about it. But here's the thing, is like, it's okay to repel people as long as you attract more people. Like one of the other ones that we had, Jimmy, I thought was great is, should you buy a home if you still have college loans? Yeah. Right? I just got a new job. Should I really buy a home? So like, 95% of the world may not relate to this, but the 5% that does, they're going to love you for creating that content. Their kids in college is now the time to sell, you know? And so what happens is when you speak directly to the person, it works. Think about back to Amazon to wrap this up, Jim. When you go on Amazon and you look at socks or you look at whatever it may be that people look at on Amazon, a book, right? Amazon doesn't retarget you with, hey, you should buy a book soon.
Yeah.
They target you with the exact book you looked at.
Yeah.
They don't say, hey, you were on Amazon last week. You should check out Amazon again today.
Yeah.
They say, you put this pair of socks in your cart and didn't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So they show you just that sock. So I don't think retargeting can be micro enough. What you're doing is you're extending it to your content marketing, because when you retarget people, yeah, you got to retarget them with stuff. So if you target niches on your site or from your database, you then should obviously target them with niche content, which is what you're suggesting.
Yeah, I love this. And we'll get into appeasing sellers here in just one moment. But just to recap Chris's earlier point, the basic idea is we've moved from billboards to bullseyes, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the idea. So in the past, it was okay to simply have a picture of yourself retargeting every single person in your database, every single person on your website. Now what we're starting to discover is that if you want to have a high impact campaign, you've got to be really specific. You got to be specific with the people that you're retargeting, and you got to be specific with the message you're using to retarget them. It's just Jimmy, that simple.
It does this really well, and it's not real estate. Hopefully it will be after we coach them on it. But there's like T-shirts are like a huge business. Mm-hmm. And what you'll notice a lot of times, it'll say, hey, are you a truck driver who lives in Florida, who was born in Virginia? Then you should wear this shirt that says all that on it. Like, are you a mom of a kid under 5? Like we saw one that was like, great mom, great teacher, great nap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's like a person that's a mom that is a teacher as well, and obviously they're tired, right? Mm-hmm. So I just think that niche is where it's at. Like if we asked all the agents, like, where do you specialize? They specialize. Oh, we specialize in golf course houses. We specialize in horse farms. We specialize in luxury. We specialize in single family between this price and this price. You're already doing it in real life. Just do it with your marketing online.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so let's get into the next topic here, which is appeasing needy sellers and winning more listings. I think it's something that not enough people are talking about, Chris. I think a lot of people right now struggle once they get a listing and the listing isn't selling. It isn't getting offers. People aren't showing up to the open houses. They typically go into the sort of this mode where they kind of are afraid to reach out to the customer or the client because there's no update. And we've talked about this on previous water coolers in terms of how to communicate when you have no news or you have bad news. But I think there's another opportunity we have right now as it relates to communicating with sellers, and that's using data. Data has a tendency to overwhelm people. Data has a tendency to confuse people, and that's two things you don't want to do when you try to win more listings and appease sellers. But I think the next tool we're going to show here, it sort of represents a way that data can help tell a story. So walk me through what I'm looking at right now on the screen here, this tool called Funalytics.
Yeah, people are going to love it. This is a free tool that everybody can try, funalytics.io. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things people love about the water cooler, we're always giving them kind of new technologies and tools to try. But it actually reminds me, Jimmy, of something you've said, which is let them see you sweat.
Yeah.
Like, let them see behind the curtain. And what this tool does is this makes it incredibly easy to show the whole funnel. You know, a lot of times we think of creating a blog or sending an email or running an ad or what we just said, doing retargeting. But what this tool allows you to do is visualize the whole funnel. You're going to see, okay, we posted a blog, that we put in an ad that people clicked on or not, and then they registered or not, and then they opened the email or not, and then if they didn't open the email, they went here. Like, if you'll actually build out funnels visually, number one, it's much smarter and easier to either pen and paper build funnels, like, you know, I'm always using my whiteboard, or to use a tool like this. So this key is like step one, build the funnel in a tool like this, then go do the funnel. It's very hard to like picture the whole campaign. But the other thing this does is like, if you knew that 5 people went through the whole funnel, you would be pumped that 5 people went through the whole funnel. Because when you look at it in its entirety, you realize like, wow, they saw the ad, they clicked it. They could have not. They went to the landing page, they filled it out. They could have not. Mm-hmm. They got the email, they opened it. They could have not. They clicked the link in the email. They could have not, right? Like when you look at the whole funnel, you're like, wow, this is hot. And that allows you to go to your sales team and say, guys, no excuses here. Yeah. But that allows people like us to do marketing to go to our clients and say, listen, look at all the people that engage with your brand across the funnel.
Yeah.
So part of it's for you because you need to better visualize and architect your funnels. But if you take one of these funnels and you go show that to a seller and you show them how robust and sophisticated your marketing is, it's game over, Jimmy.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the thing we have to always remember, this is the thought that's going through consumers' mind, Chris, when they're sitting down with an agent, especially if it's in a competitive market. If you're listening right now and you're in the competitive market, you're competing against other agents, discount brokers, you're competing against instant offers, and you're competing against people who just think they can list the property themselves. What you're really trying to communicate through a visualization like this is, am I worth it? That's what the consumer's asking in their mind right now, Chris. They're saying, are you actually worth it? And if you do these things, does it actually help me grow help me sell my house for more money in less time? And the thing about this is that visualizations tell a much clearer story than a simple bullet list of activities. And that's what we're really coaching on here, Chris. Now, the next tool.
I researched this for the conversion code.
Okay.
People process visuals 60,000 times faster than words.
Yeah.
So if you're just telling a seller what you're going to do versus showing them what you're going to do, you're really missing out. Another great option here. So this is funalytics.io. Another great option is called Lucid Charts. So if you're wanting to build funnels, Lucid Charts is another great option. But Jimmy, the other thing that can impress your sellers is the results of your marketing, right?
Yeah.
Like step one, be smart about how you architect the campaigns and show them how sophisticated your marketing is.
Yeah.
But then step two, you have to look at like, how did the marketing do? So like we did this over the break during the holidays. We took all of the statistics from our customers' Facebook pages and we put them into a beautiful graphic, and we showed how many people we reached and how many people clicked and how many people engaged. And it was crazy compelling. All of our clients shared it. All of their clients thought it was awesome. So what we've been looking for, and we think we found, is a multi-channel report. Because like in the past, when we talk about analytics or stats, it was largely Google Analytics, right?
Yep.
But nowadays you've got Facebook, you've got Insta, you might be using Twitter or using YouTube. You talked about retargeting. So what this does, this is called What-A-Graph, Jimmy.
Yep.
It's a beautiful and simple reporting tool for all of your stats. This is something that, number one, for you, can make you feel good about the performance of your marketing. But man, you turn the corner and you create a report like this for somebody that you're listing their home, and you show them that engagement, and you show them those clicks, and you show them that website traffic, and you show them that retargeting in action. It's amazing. And you can see from the little graphic there, it is so simple, Jimmy. You drag and drop the metrics that you want, and it literally creates the report, and then it'll auto send it to you. Now, a couple disclaimers here about What-A-Graph. What-A-Graph is free to try. You don't even have to give them your email. They do require a phone number.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, Jimmy, like, they do a great job of follow-up, like just as a company, because they've built a tool that's worth paying for, but they let you use it for free.
Yep.
But then because they collect your number, they do follow up with you. Like they go and they find you on LinkedIn. They send you emails. Hey, would you like to extend your trial? Like they have a good funnel just in general, but it's a beautiful technology. It's simple to use. There's a free trial. And then if you do decide to keep it longer term, if you're doing a lot of marketing like we are, and you're marketing in a lot of places like we are, I think it's like $99 a month. But anybody can try it. Anybody can build a beautiful report. I think there's another one we've been looking at, Jimmy, called Data Deck or Data Box.
Yeah, Data Box.
Data Box. But yeah, the web has changed. Like this is something since we've been gone that has changed quite a bit, which is there's more places than ever that you're going to do marketing, and that creates more data than ever. But what the good marketers are going to do is turn the corner and use that marketing to get more customers.
Yeah. And that's a concept we like to use at Curator called market your marketing. So in the event, so what we're, just to put things in perspective here, what we're saying is you use a tool like Funalytics to basically map out your entire funnel to identify first personally for you where the blind spots are in your marketing, and something you can use on any listing presentation to persuade a seller that you're going to actually help them sell their home for more money in less time. You use a tool like Lucid Charts lucidchart.com to essentially develop reports that you can then use internally to share with your sellers to show them what you're doing. But then what Chris just mentioned at the end there is use a chart like this to then actually persuade potential sellers that they should meet with you and hire you. And that's really what we're getting at here, guys, is you're using data and you're using visuals to tell a compelling story, to persuade people to drive action. That's it.
Yep. And Jimmy, last thing on that, we actually, if you guys are looking to attract more sellers, you know, last week we did our big listings. Curator.com/listings has the 19 fastest way to get listings this year. But if everybody goes right now to Curator.com/blog, John, who's the head of growth, he is also the producer of the water cooler. He actually just put out a blog post that's amazing. And it's the best 3 ways to target sellers on Facebook. So when you go to build an audience of people that you want to show off your marketing to or show off your funnels to, John wrote a great post. The best 3 people, not 3 people, the best 3 groups of people to target your seller ads. That just went live yesterday on the blog, Jimmy, Curator.com/blog.
And when they visit that blog post, you better believe you're going to see some Curator retargeting ads. That's how it works, guys.
Maybe,
pulling it full circle.
Jimmy, that's a good example. I might not micro retarget them. Right? Like if you go on the how we can help you get more sellers, then I'm going to get them.
Cool. All right. So next up, we're talking about this concept, what we're referring to as the art of newsjacking. And I think if you want to get better at content marketing, Chris, and you want to get better at inbound marketing, you should study 2 organizations, political campaigns and media companies. These organizations and these companies have to stay relevant. They have to control the message. They have to drive traffic and get engagement. They have to get people actually performing an action, but they have to do it daily, it feels like. So I want you to walk me through how this concept of newsjacking, which is commonly used by political campaigns and media companies, how it applies to real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. It's basically, I think one time you called it riding on the shoulders of giants, right? Meaning there are proven trends and topics out there. So an example recently, Jimmy, was the Bird Box Challenge. You know, Bird viral, most watched movie ever. Next thing you know, there's realtors putting out memes with a blindfolded person, and it's hey, that's Zillow trying to guess a home value. But that would be kind of fun, simple example of newsjacking. Another one would be the Super Bowl. So Super Bowl is happening this week. The whole world's talking about it and thinking about it and planning parties for it. And so you can actually leverage the fact that that's already buzzing, and then you can build content on the back of that. So, but here's my bigger point, Jimmy, because I know we're going to show a couple ways our clients have done it. But I want to make a bigger point here. What I believe has changed and should change since we've been gone, there is not enough content being created specifically for past clients in Sphere. Okay? Everybody's obsessed about the next buyer lead, the next seller lead, the next lead. And nobody uses their blog or their page or their emails to actually engage and interact with the people they already know. They're always trying to get new people. And so my big... Go ahead.
Yeah, and here's the question for the audience right now. What percentage of your business comes from your past clients and your Sphere? Just drop in the chat right now. What percentage of your business comes? Because I think keep going with your point, Chris. I think you're going to hit it here hard.
Well, my guess is that 97% of their business comes from their past clients, and 97% of their marketing is not for them. So as an example, people might wonder, well, I'm a realtor. How is writing an article about the Super Bowl going to help me? Because it's not trying to get you a buyer or a seller. It's trying to keep you in contact with your past clients in your Sphere. So one example, we can pull this up, and I'll let you talk about Brian's.
Go on, pull up the slide, John.
Yeah, pull up the slide as far as, go to the next one for me, Jimmy. This is a technique we used this week. So we basically put out an article. Our marketers are great at this. And they put out an article where they basically talked about how to get your home ready for your Super Bowl party. Plus 3 creative recipes you probably haven't thought about. So I love that they're making the old real estate tactic of recipes new by
Yep.
leveraging it on the blog, not through like a postcard in the mail. But look at the results of that, Jimmy, as far as the open rate, the click-through rate. Like, these are doing great on Facebook. People love them. So, like, a lot of people are going to have a Super Bowl party that own a home where you live. Where would you rather them read how to get their house ready? Your site or someone else's? And like, this is just good content. This is what I call sphere first content.
Yeah.
Past client first marketing. You've got another example here. Talk about Brian Powers, Jimmy. What did he do?
Yeah, well, Brian did. Reminds me of a technique of our girl Julie Mecco, one of our first curator clients, which I'll have to talk about here in a minute. But Brian essentially he created more or less an illegal gambling ring to attract his past clients in his sphere here. But essentially using Square, which honestly I don't even know how the hell Square works. I think you guess the score at the end of each quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Someone correct me here in the live chat if I'm wrong. But he basically created this video, which is he's got an epic beard in it, which is great. But then he also kind of talks about like a way to get his clients engaged. And I think that's probably one of the hardest things you can do in a past client campaign is like get your clients to actually pay attention to you, re-engage you, reestablish that relationship. So he basically invites his clients to participate. It's kind of this community building angle here. But to your point, Chris, I think what's fascinating about this, I saw some of the responses coming in. People are saying 75%, 80%, 90% of my business is coming from my past clients in Sphere. What Chris said there was so important. He's saying that 95% or 90% of your business is coming from your Sphere, and 95% of your marketing is targeted towards strangers who are not, or who don't know who you are, don't like you, don't trust you, and never done business with you before. So what we're trying to really do here is balance the scales a little bit. And I think Brian does a wonderful job of doing that, Chris, leveraging newsjacking, which is the Super Bowl, go Pats. And he's also using gambling, which is highly addictive, right? Which is obviously a proven strategy. So I think ultimately where my head goes when I see something like this, Chris, is if I'm watching right now the water cooler, I'm going to have my antenna up, thinking about what are the trends that everyone's talking about right this moment, and how can I package that in such a way to re-engage my past clients in a relevant way.
Exactly. And you mentioned Julie Mecco. Julie was one of our first 2 customers 6 years ago now. And she taught me this trick, and it's kind of like the idea of what's buzzing. Like, Jimmy, what happens when the Mega Millions hits $1 billion?
Yeah, people lose their shit, basically. I mean, what happens.
Dude, 11 by my house is like a 3-hour wait to grab a ticket, right? My mom starts freaking texting me from Alabama, telling me to go buy some. So like Julie had a good strategy where when that happens, she actually will do a handwritten note campaign to her clients, checking in with them, and she'll include a $1 ticket. And at the end, her call to action is really clever. She'll say, hey, by the way, I know it sucks to get cards without anything in it. I'm not sure if you'll win or not, but text me and let me know either way. And she gets an insanely high reply rate coming back to her. We can also pull up the graphic here of the Super Bowl party, because it's simple visual, but you know, how to tackle your Super Bowl party plus 3 recipes you'll definitely want to make. So it's really just being more clever. So I know the topic is sort of like timing, but what you're really looking for in marketing and in real estate is a reason to call. Right? What is a reason to call? Well, now all of a sudden you've got this great article. So now you can go hit the phones and call all your past clients and say, hey, just wanted to check in and see if you're having a Super Bowl party this year at your house. Oh, you're not? Well, why don't you come to ours? Oh, you are? Well, I've got some great tips I'm going to send you about how to get your house ready, plus some recipes that you probably haven't thought about, just checking in. Like, I think that's a good touch. Yeah. You know, I think that's a meaningful engagement with a past client, because let's be honest, Jimmy, how many times can you call them and ask them if they know anybody looking to buy or sell? You know,
it's such an important part of the process here, Chris. I think people underestimate what you're saying here. They're going to listen to it and they're going to think to themselves, oh, that's a good idea. What you're really saying is the reason everyone who's watching right now doesn't call their past clients isn't because you don't understand the value. It isn't because you don't understand the ROI. It's because you don't have a reason to call. And the fact is that they're not admitting that, Chris, is preventing them from, I think, taking advantage of the obvious. Now, before we get into the next point here, Chris, about contrarian marketing, I did want to clarify Brian Powers is actually giving away these squares. He's not starting an illegal gambling ring He just dropped a comment in the Facebook chat. I don't know how this stuff works, Brian. My bad.
Yeah,
So
we have a global disclaimer to always follow all rules. Don't break any rules. But this is something people all over the country do. They do the squares, and that you're exactly right. He's giving away the squares. He's not selling the squares. So it definitely works.
Cool. All right. So let's talk about contrarian marketing, because I think this is probably one of my favorite takeaways from today's show as we were doing the prep for it. The simple fact is this, Chris, is that if you are online right now, you are entering into the most competitive space that's ever existed in marketing. You have every single brand out there creating more content, more videos, more posts, more live streams, trying to capture the attention of your customers. And we are in this fierce competition, whether or not you realize it or not, you are in this fierce competition for consumers' attention. And I think and I feel that the technique you're about to share here about becoming a contrarian is probably one of the single best ways that an individual business or real estate agent can actually stand out in a crowded space. Talk me through this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the high level tip here is like the way to stand out right now is to not make everything so positive. Like, you know, why do you think that they lead with blood on the news? You know what I mean? Why do you think everything on the news is negative? Because that's what gets people's attention. That's what gets people to tune in. So like, I think about that Lego movie, Jim. You remember that one? I don't know if you've seen it. You probably haven't seen it.
Are you talking about the Netflix one, or are you talking about the kids movie?
The kids movie.
Okay,
yes, not the business documentary about Legos. The one that says everything is awesome. Like, if you haven't seen it, you won't get the joke. But most of the people have seen it. But that, like, they live in this phony world in the Lego movie that everything is awesome. Everything is perfect. Life is great. And it's just not the case. And what inspired me to come up with this tactic, like if the conversion code 2 came out today, contrarian marketing would be a whole chapter because it's that impactful. So what inspired me was the billboard everyone's seeing right now on the screen. Yeah. Like, this is a local billboard campaign that was running all over Orlando. And first of all, let's be real. A billboard campaign got my attention, number one. So that is obviously really hard. So if it gets your attention when you're driving, probably going to get your attention in the news feed or in an inbox as well. But look at the billboard, Jimmy. Mattress stores are greedy.
Yeah.
Learn the truth. TN.com.
Now, let me stop you real quick. What would be, I want you to hit this point home. What would be a non-contrarian way to say this exact same sentence?
Yeah, I was actually going to say that. Like, what normally you would see would be, our mattresses are awesome. Our mattresses are comfortable. Like, there's a mattress company called Purple, and the guy wears like a whole suit filled with eggs, and he like falls on the mattress to prove that the eggs won't break. Yeah. So the opposite of this is we rock. Our mattresses are more comfortable than their mattresses. But this is the contrarian approach. And it caught my attention. I went to TN.com right when I was driving in the car. It's actually a great company called Tuft & Needle. And they're in a very competitive industry, Jimmy. It ain't just Casper anymore. There's Casper. Yeah. There's Purple. There's Tuft & Needle. That's what this company's called. So I took this idea and I applied it to ourselves. There's a trends report that comes out from Salesforce every year. Yeah. And they say, hey, here's the best marketing and sales trends you need to know. And every time that report comes out, Jimmy, there's like 500 articles that people write that say, here's the top takeaways from the Trends Report. Here's the best information from the Trends Report. And I thought about it. I said, you know what? I talked to our PR firm. I said, why don't we go negative? Why don't we actually call the article the 3 biggest mistakes that professional marketers are still making? Yeah. And Jimmy, we submitted that Ad Week. Like, I don't know if people know what Ad Week is, but it's a big freaking deal. And Ad Week wanted that article immediately. So think about it. Your Ad Week, you've got 8,000 PR firms hitting you up to put an article in there for their client. And they accepted our article right away because it was not what they were expecting to see. That article is actually available on Ad Week if people want to read it. So I saw it on the billboard, Jimmy, and then I applied it to our tactic and it worked. So then I met with our marketers and I said, guys, everything isn't awesome. Let's do some stuff that's not quite so positive. I'm not saying to be negative, and I know you're going to ask me about that in a second. Yeah. But they had an idea where they said, hey, here's 9 ways to clean up your home. And it was like basically cleaning tips. And it was good. And I said, guys, what if we switched that? And I don't know if I came up with the words or they did, very collaborative process. But I said, what if it was the 9 things that are grossing out your guests?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the same article,
Yeah.
but the angle, that contrarian approach, Jimmy, this actually got more link clicks and engagement than any ad we've ever run on Facebook for our clients.
Yeah.
And by the way, Facebook doesn't work. Facebook is like, so it's all just bullshit. Mm-hmm. If you put out great content that's compelling, that's engaging, everything works. Yeah. If you put out bad stuff, nothing works. Just keep that in mind. But like, this article went viral. It did great. Look at the email stats, Jimmy. What do those email stats say? I can't even read them.
Yeah, well, it points 2 things out. First off, this email was only sent to 200 people, which is in real estate is like very uncommon. We coach our clients as a curator is the importance of segmentation because you want to actually have a deep relationship with the people you follow up with. But Chris, 65% of the people who you sent it to actually opened the email, and of that, 15% actually clicked through on the email. And to put things in perspective, Chris, the average open rate is somewhere probably between, depending on what report you use, 15%, 17% good. Click-through rate, 1% is pretty good. 2% is pretty good.
The next slide, too. Show them the actual visual of the article. Like, you can see the graphic, kind of was that kind of...
that double chin kind of push away. I like that.
You should see the comments on the feedback, like the consumers commenting on the post.
Yeah.
They loved it. They were piling on. That was from Dean's website. We did it for a couple clients, but it's a really good tactic. What are your thoughts, though, on like, we don't want to be negative or pessimist. Like, is there anything that's too much?
Yeah, I think you got to be careful in terms of the amount of times you use this type of strategy. I think I saw someone in the chat say, realtors suck. Learn the truth here. I think Joe's joking here, but it's like he's on the right track. He's got to pull back a little bit here. I think the thing about it is that if you go back to that slide here and you look at mattress stores are greedy, the dance this company's playing is they're not saying Bob's mattress is greedy. They're saying mattress store. So they're kind of picking an enemy, Chris, that is an enemy that really is either like not specific enough to offend somebody, or it's sort of like something that everyone kind of hates is the point. I think the balance there as it relates to contrarian marketing, Chris, is that it doesn't always have to be negative, but I think taking a different perspective on an article. An example, when they go negative, you go positive. When they go positive, you go negative. That might be a good kind of baseline to work off of. But what you said there before you were wrapping it up, you said this idea of like great marketing works. And that's actually at the heart of what we coach at Curator, is that people are trying to figure out and trying to sort of manufacture the way to getting more business, Chris. And it all starts with like this basic idea of great marketing. So that's where we start. We're thinking like, how do we ask ourselves this question? How do we create great marketing? Contrarian is certainly a method we use to accomplish that.
If you remember one of our first websites, the headline said, putting an end to cheesy real estate marketing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Quit sending me your clock back reminders. My iPhone does it automatically. Right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't
I still love that headline.
An agent, just a group of agents. The other one I remember as you were talking is we have a gym that we work with in New Hampshire. And I was talking to Matt, the owner of the gym, and he had a marquee. You know how like a business has like a sign where they can change out the letters and change out the slogan. And basically, he used my idea and it said, "Working out sucks. It just sucks less here."
Yeah,
like honest. And Jimmy, mattress stores are greedy, by the way. Like, you know what I'm saying? So part of it is just the truth.
I think the marketing's working on you here. You know,
my last example for real estate.
Yeah.
How many times, Jimmy, have we seen home values are up? The market's up. The market's doing great. You've gained equity. Your home's worth more now. Like that's one way to spin it. But you've got an angle here that's a little different that kind of taps into fear, taps into contrarian. The other thing I thought about is like the market being up is positive for sellers, but it's scary for a buyer. Like, hey, great news, seller. Your home's worth more. Hey, buyer, you're about to have to spend way more a year from now if you keep waiting. Yeah. What is your angle here with the equity, Jimmy?
Yeah, well, your point is really well taken, Chris, because part of the reason people are afraid to sell their home is because they are afraid they can't afford to buy a new home. So you should be thinking about that as you speak to it. Shula, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Shalu, perhaps. I'm terrible pronouncing names. I'm sorry, especially on live on the air. She says pain is a greater motivator than gain. And it's actually true. The psychology behind it is that pain essentially is twice as more motivating than like gaining something new is. So what we're doing here with this direct mail campaign is we're making it visual and beautiful and clean and simple, which is all the elements of a great direct mail campaign or a great campaign period. But then we're also saying to the consumer, do not lose your equity, which basically says this is something you own, something that is yours, something that you had earned, and we are trying to entice them to basically pick up the card, look at it more than 2 seconds, and flip it over. And when they flip it over, what we're talking about here is this idea that by listing with another agent, they're essentially, or listing with an average agent, they're essentially going to lose money on the transaction because the average agent sells homes for less money than this reputable, great firm that they're gonna try to hire or try to pull in here. So the idea here, Chris, is very simple. Rather than saying home values are on the rise, click here to learn more, we're basically saying you have equity in your home and we do not want you to lose it. That elicits an emotion from the consumer, and then we have a clear kind of call to action, some copy that reinforces that. I'm actually curious here, guys, because I want to get some feedback, Chris. How many of you are actually taking risks with your direct mail campaign? Because I'm telling you right now, Chris, I've never seen a direct mail campaign look like this. They're all like the same exact picture of a house, same slogan, just listed, just sold. Like what Chris is talking about, what I'm talking about here, guys, is this basic idea. You got to be different if you want to stand out. And this is just one way to do it.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Anyone that gets that owns a home is going to flip it over, which is already a big win. I mean, let's be honest. Most of it just goes right in the trash when it's mail. So just to get it to flip over, what it reminds me of? Another book we can recommend. I'm guessing a lot of people have read it, but some probably haven't.
Yeah.
Purple Cow, right?
Yeah.
If you see a purple cow, you stop everything and you just stare. But if you see a black and white cow or a brown cow, it's just how cows are supposed to be. Seth Godin, Purple Cow. That's a whole book on how to stand out.
Yeah. So, Chris, I know we have the giveaway coming up here in just a few minutes, and we're going to wrap up the show. But before we do, we did promise we're going to cover our favorite new feature Facebook release. We like to be positive. Facebook's getting a lot of bad press these days, but there are some really interesting features that we have come across that we love.
Jimmy, real quick, before you reveal the Facebook feature and the best tip of the day.
Yeah.
If you guys are watching and you're glad the water cooler is back, just give us some love. Hit thumbs up, hit love, cheers. Like, I'm glad to be back. Like this, Jimmy, we're 52 minutes in. I feel like it's been 5 minutes.
I know.
If you guys are excited, we're back. We're going to be back every single week. This isn't a one-time reunion, but we're glad to be back. I'm excited to see if other people are glad we're back, of course. But yeah, let's get into the last tip here, Jimmy. How to stand out on Facebook in a world that's getting harder to do that.
Yeah, and I think that this is, for me, Chris, this falls into the bucket of what I would consider to be something that would be so incredibly easy. At the moment that we end the broadcast today, everyone here should start executing on this idea. And I'll pull up a visual here to help you explain it, Chris.
Yeah, think of it this way. So we went in our mastermind the other day, and we said, hey, guys, if you're thinking about signing up for Marketer, which is where the people that work for us do your marketing for you, one of our most popular options here at Curator. If you already have one of our marketers working for you, let us know how they're doing. Give us some feedback. And, we get a lot of comments. We have a very engaged community. And I want everybody to look at the screen. And when you look at those comments, which ones jump off the page to you? Because what happened is Veronica, one of our favorite clients, Veronica Figueroa, she was the first one to do this. And I didn't even know you could do this. That's why I'm giving her props. Like, she figured this out.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that you can actually leave video comments. That's the tip. You guys should be leaving video comments on other people's Facebook posts because it just jumped off the page. Like, if you see a post with 31 comments, are you going to maybe have your eyes gravitate towards the play button, towards the interactive one? And I loved how Veronica framed it. She's like, sometimes it's just easier for me to speak from the heart than it is to actually type something out. But I think it's a great way to stand out. I think this is an absolute pro tip. Like, we came up with a really cool use case for this, which is, imagine you do a listing promotion and then comment number 1 is a video from you saying, hey, everybody, I'm the listing agent. If you have any questions about this home, you can drop them below. So what you're doing is you're supplementing your post with a video in the comment.
Yeah.
But you're right, Jimmy. Everybody should do this today. Find one of your friends, find one of your colleagues, go in a group that you love, and find a thread with a decent amount of comments and leave a video comment. It's absolutely brilliant. And Veronica really helped us crack that code. In fact, Veronica, we're going to be interviewing her next week. She's the most innovative team in real estate. She's on the Zillow advisory board. We did a pitch competition where we had the best agents in the world pitch against each other. She won the whole thing for sellers.
Yeah.
Like, she's just talented. She's passionate. She's driven. She's hardworking. So we are interviewing her next week. Sarah from our team is interviewing Veronica. If anybody wants to tune in, you can go to curator.com/interview. Curator.com/interview. And Sarah's going to ask her all of her best practices, how she got started. Like, her and her husband are doing a podcast now. Yeah. She speaks all over the world.
Yeah, Veronica's amazing. I remember that story you told where you said that woman came up to you and she said she wanted to bottle you up and sprinkle you on your keyboard. Like, that's kind of how I feel about Veronica. She's like you want her to be your life coach. You're around her, her presence, her energy, her excitement, like, it's contagious.
Her energy, her swagger, her confidence, her skills, her strategy. She really is a brilliant. We'll call her our client of the week. How about that? We'll give her the client. Yeah, curator.com/interview. And Jimmy, it's time for last call. So cheers, last call. Let's look at the poll. I'm going to go into the poll results. I'm going to read off the results of the work-life balance poll right now.
Yep.
This is good. This makes me feel good about our audience, Jimmy. 60% of the respondents responded that they feel much more close to being work-life balance than workaholic.
Yeah.
40% said they're a little bit more of a workaholic. You know what we should do? We should follow up with all the workaholics and tell them if they use Curator, they wouldn't have to work as much. But quite frankly, I thought it would be different. I thought it would be more like 80 or 70% workaholic. Yeah. So to see 60% of people saying it's work-life balance, that's absolutely enormous. I'm also going to read off the winners of the books. That's on the way right now. Here it is. We're giving away 5 free books. Armando Rodriguez, you're getting a copy of The Calm Company. Jeff Kelly, The Calm Company. A.M. Freeman Edina Realty, The Calm Company. Stacy Staub. How are you, Stacy? I miss Stacy. Jimmy, Stacy, side note, because I've been doing this a while now. Stacy was teaching me about Pinterest in like 2009 at like an Inman Agent reboot. So great to see such a longtime friend and fan on the show. Also, Manny Andea. So let me read that again. Armando Rodriguez, Jeff Kelly, A.M. Friedman, Stacy Staub, and Manny. To get your free book, all you have to do is email our community manager, Jillian, at curator.com. Jillian, Jillian at curator.com. Just let her know that you're watching the water cooler and you want a free book. Jimmy, this show airs every week live on Facebook. We'll be back next Wednesday at 1 p.m. for another episode. You can also catch all of the replays on our YouTube channel, as well as on iTunes. A lot of people, they like to listen to the show when they work out or when they're driving around. So the audio version is on iTunes. The replay is available on YouTube. The other thing you can do is you can go old school and you can just subscribe by email so that you get notifications about our new stuff. You can do that at curator.com/blog. Not only do we do the water cooler now, Jimmy, we have an article coming out tomorrow. 5 questions to ask yourself before you ever email your past clients again. And so I think one of them is this interesting? But that article is coming out tomorrow. So if you're not subscribed to our blog, you can go to curator.com/blog. And last but not least, you absolutely can hire us to help you with your marketing. You can go to curator.com/WC. The way that works is our team of experts will look at your marketing. They'll analyze your Facebook stuff, analyze your website, analyze your blog, look at your email marketing, and they will give you recommendations on how to make it better, whether you hire us or not. You can go to curator.com/WC for that. Jimmy, that's all I got. Cheers, man. It feels great to be back. Great show,
Great to be back. See you guys next week.